Hi everyone, welcome back. We are going to continue on week 3, conflict and compromise. So this past week and over the past couple of days, we've been talking about conflict resolution, compromise, consensus, and conflict. So we're going to continue this talk on conflict today, and we're going to talk about conflict in the courts. Let's take a look at her picture right here. What do you think her job is? Take a moment to think about that. What do you think her job is? If you said judge, you would be correct. She is a judge that works in a courtroom to help solve conflict between different people. So I'm going to go ahead and start our reading right here. In the United States, we use the law to solve conflicts that can't be resolved ourselves. We take them to a court of law. The court has judges and representatives to help people on both sides of the conflict. Judges interpret the law to resolve conflicts. This happens at the national, state, and local levels. So we see conflict all over our world and in our country. So notice at the bottom it says local levels, state, and national levels. In our court systems, if it is a local matter, so something within our community, that court case would be happening in our local community. If the court case is a little bigger, that might be a state court case. So for example, we have our Supreme Court of Michigan for a little bit larger court cases. If it is an issue that affects the whole nation or it can't be decided at our state or local levels, then that gets brought to our national level, and that is where our highest judges help determine a solution to that conflict. Can you think of a conflict that might have to be brought to a court system? And when you're thinking about it, think about what level that conflict might have to go to. National, state, or local. If you need more time to think, you can pause the video. So for my example, I'm thinking about two neighbors that live near each other, and they are having a conflict about who owns what piece of land. Maybe one neighbor thinks it's his land and the other neighbor thinks it's his land as well. So they have a disagreement on who owns what. That is something that's going on in our local community, and that could be at a local level court. So somewhere in our community, that could be taken to a court system where a judge would then help determine a solution to this conflict because these two people were not able to come up to an agreement outside of the court system. Next, we're going to look at world conflict. So we see conflict not only in our own country, but all across different nations throughout our world. So I'm going to read a little bit about this here. Start at the top. Conflicts can arise between nations. These conflicts might be about borders. They could be about the use of land or resources. Conflicts may be about different political ideals. Nations have to work together to solve problems. When they agree on a solution, they sign treaties. Treaties are a formal agreement that shows the responsibility of each side. Sometimes nations of the world need help to solve their problems. Outside governments sometimes help negotiate solutions. Organizations can help too. The United Nations is a global organization that works to resolve conflicts between nations around the world. The United Nations has 193 member countries. Its purpose is to increase cooperation and maintain peace in the world. It is important for people from many different countries to work together to solve the world challenges. Government and private organizations like the American Red Cross and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the World Health Organization, offer help to conflict when conflict creates emergencies. So we have these different programs and these different organizations set up to help us create peace among our different countries. Okay, so after you're done with this video, you are going to be going to complete a discussion board. And what I want you to think about in that discussion board is, what is a conflict that you might have heard between two nations? Or what is a conflict you could think that might happen between two nations? I would look right back in my reading. There are some great examples up here of what two nations might have a conflict about. So for example, the United States of America is a nation. It might have a conflict with Canada, okay, which is another nation. When these two nations come to that disagreement, they have to work together to be able to create a compromise. Sometimes this can be very peaceful, and sometimes it can be very, very harsh, and there can be a lot of anger between these two countries. So our programs down here help these nations try to work through these conflicts and issues in a peaceful way. When they're able to come to that agreement, they will then sign a treaty. This is a formal agreement that is signed to show the responsibilities of each side. So for example, again, if the United States and Canada came to an agreement about their conflict, they could then sign a treaty saying, okay, this is our compromise that we are making. Again, your next step is to go answer that discussion board question. What is a conflict you've heard between two nations? Or what is a conflict that you think could happen between two nations? Think about that for your discussion board. If you have questions, always reach out to your teachers. Have a great day, everyone.